Well, welcome back. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm great, Upkar.
Well, welcome to have you here. Why don't we start off with tell us something about yourself, and then we'll get into Node-RED.
Okay, we will. My name is John Walicki. I'm a Watson Internet of Things developer advocate. Matter of fact, in my latest role as the global technology CTO, I'm really working with all the different tech. It's not just IoT. It's IoT plus blockchain, IoT plus analytics. We've got some great teams working on containers, and so those technologies are one interesting to developers, of course, and sort of why we're here at Think 2019 at the Code Cafe, because there's so much interest from a developer community in both the IBM AI capabilities, but in general, building developer skills.
Yes.
So we've got some great developers traveling. The team is out doing meetups and workshops and conferences. We love to engage developers and drive our passion about the technologies and educate them. We have a great time. I just am so juiced up about being here in San Francisco, and I love doing events with you too. We've done a few now.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, I'm part of the San Francisco IBM Developer Advocacy team, and yeah, I love doing events with you as well. Always learning from you. So thank you very much for being here. And I keep hearing, every time we do meetups, I keep hearing about Node-RED. So what is this Node-RED, and why should people know about this?
So Node-RED is runs on top of Node.js.
Okay.
And so as a Node app, it is a visual programming technique. Really makes it easy for developers to get started, build some applications. The rapid prototyping is so powerful. I've built some pretty sophisticated applications now with Node-RED. And it's actually what I think we're going to talk about today is kind of give you a sample of, okay, here's Node-RED and wire together a few nodes, but then what can you do with it?
Right.
And I've got so many examples that will kind of pace our way through. And if you have an interest, whether we do weather, later this afternoon upstairs in the IMAX theater, I've got my drone. I'm going to fly my drone using Node-RED.
Perfect. I've seen that before. That's always exciting.
If you've caught that on Twitch a couple of weeks ago, I took a tour through my basement, and I opened up the green screen because it's really hard. The green screen's like right behind me, and every time the green screen I try to fly the drone, it winds up crashing into me or the panel. So we've got a much bigger upstairs. The IMAX theater ceiling is,
Well, that's a challenge. Let's see if we can crash it there.
Well, I'm going to try not to. I'm going to warn the front row. It's sort of like the Gallagher. You ever remember the Smashing Watermelons?
I've seen those, yes.
So we're going to just try to keep the crowd back a little bit, the first two rows, to prevent any damage.
I'm sure it'll go just fine.
I'm
looking forward
I
to
got
it.
my fingers crossed.
All right, so should we get
started.
into the demo?
Yeah, okay. So what I'm
Perfect.
going to do is share my screen.
Great.
And hopefully everyone wants to hang on. I'm going to start adding some tabs and jump through some examples.
Perfect.
I'm not really scripted what we want to talk about. Give me time frame. You want to do this for like 25, 30 minutes?
Yes, that sounds good. And even before you get into the demo, like the first question I get asked is this something I download? Is this something I use on the web? Like how do I get started?
So let's talk about Node-RED and how to get started.
Perfect.
And then I'm going to show you on both. I've got local Node-RED on my laptop, but I also have Node-RED running in the IBM cloud.
Perfect.
And there's other scenarios where you can run Node-RED on your small board computer, your device, whether it's a Raspberry Pi. One of my new favorite ones is an Omega Onion Pro. The Omega team just announced the Omega Pro. They sent me one.
That's perfect.
And it runs Node-RED, and I'm like, sure, let's go play with it. I built some examples on their little board, the size of a postage stamp. It's so cool. Runs Linux, small little distribution of Linux.
That's amazing.
And so it's powerful enough now. Some of these edge devices can run Node-RED.
Wow. Yes, I read something about TensorFlow running on Node-RED. I read some forums on that. So yeah, that's very, very exciting.
All right, so let's see. Hopefully everyone sees my screen, and we're at nodered.org. So a little background about Node-RED. It's a open source project created by Nick O'Leary and Dave Conway Jones.
Hey, John. We only see Open Client for Linux.
We're going to make sure we're sharing our screen.
Oh, actually, I can see that here too.
I bet you, I'm going to mirror my screen. I bet you that's going to look better now.
There we go.
We'll keep those changes. All right.
Beautiful.
So node-red.org, great place to get started. Open source project, 2013. Nick was he's an IBMer in the Hersley lab, and as part of the emerging tech team, he was working on IoT projects and message site, trying to get devices connected to the cloud at the time. And so they built a visual programming solution, and they open sourced it. And it's really evolved. We've got a great community around it now. There are contributors from many different companies and individuals creating nodes, and we'll talk about how you can extend Node-RED.
Perfect.
But as a low-code, event-driven programming technique, you don't have to be a deep, hard embedded C developer. I mean, my background with small devices, IoT, seems natural for me to write C, really tight, small code.
I would think so.
But on the other hand, I just love the freedom of, hey, here's an API, let's pull it into Node-RED and build some really fun things using the visual programming.
All right.
So if you're interested in getting started, there's a documentation on how to install it. So getting started is our first tab. So remember, it's a Node application. So npm install Node-RED.
Perfect.
There you go.
Okay.
So if you've got Node already installed on your laptop, so it means Windows, Linux, or Mac. We talked about embedded or smaller devices, Raspberry Pi, Linux distributions, and does use some memory, obviously, but I think that's going to be a given. So encourage folks to go to node-red.org, get started. I've already installed it local, but the cool thing about Node-RED is it can run in the cloud.
Okay.
And so that marries the combination of Watson and some of the Watson AI services and all of the APIs that might be available in the cloud. So location services, weather services, the Watson capabilities, chatbots and speech to text and text to speech, and really third-party ones. So whether you're interested in tracking your flight to San Francisco, there's a FlightAware, it's got a free API. If you wind up going to developer.whatever.com, they typically have an API.
Absolutely.
And I get all juiced up, I'm like, cool, what can I build with that? Over Christmas, I bought a light bulb that you could Wi-Fi connected to the cloud, and they've got an API to it, built a Node-RED flow,
Very
turn
cool.
on and off the light.
Very cool. And I guess the other part about a hosted version is that you don't have to worry about it going off.
Right.
It's always on.
Yeah, my laptop is traveling with me, but the cloud is running whenever I want to
Very
start and
cool.
stop. So let's jump there. Let's go to IBM Cloud.
All
and what I always encourage folks to do, I'll make that a little bit bigger so it's not an eye test for everyone. In the catalog, we've got a set of web starters. And so the starter kits, a whole variety of them, or think of those as pre-built systems. So often you want a Node.js server plus a cloud and database, plus IoT, plus a bunch of stuff. And so we've built a set of pre-canned configurations. And so there's one for Node-RED.
Perfect.
So I'll click on that. And you give it a name. It's available in the free tier. So if you've got an IBM Cloud Lite account, there's no credit card required, and you can go and build yourself a Cloud Lite and a Node.js web server, and you hit the create button. A couple of minutes later, you've got yourself a Node-RED starter.
Just like
which is
that.
sort of
there's
like a blank
nothing else
blank screen.
required.
Nothing else required.
Perfect.
But that's when you start to build stuff. And I've built so many. So let's just go on a wild journey here.
All right.
And then if something it gets you excited, we can go take a look.
Sounds good.
Too. So I'm going to jump over to my dashboard, And in my dashboard, I've got a whole variety of 22 different, well, actually 27 different apps that I've built. Most of them, many of them with Node-RED.
Okay.
Let's go see what we've got here. And I think sometimes the names are giveaways, right? So I did a bunch of stuff with Twitter, which is really fabulous. And that's actually where we may go, because I've got so many examples in the Twitter feed. And that's already running. I've done Node-RED plus data science, which is this awesome combination of running ML models in Node-RED, or build a model over in Watson Studio and be able to call it from Node-RED.
Perfect.
So that's kind of clever. Obviously, I've done things with Java, with some of our vendors. So TI's got some sub 1 gigahertz devices. I built a mobile app. So I have 4 girls, and 2 of them are red hair, freckles, very fair skin. They love to go to the beach, but they don't tan, they just burn. So I built this mobile app. It figures out where they are using GPS coordinates, and checks the weather. Company's got a service for UV index, and if it's sunny and bright out on the beach, I text them, I push them a notification, apply sun lotion. Now they're dad's overbearing.
I feel like that's a tech dad problem.
But that's a tech dad who just looking out for them.
that's
so
wonderful.
So I built a UV index mobile alert for them. Blockchain plus IoT is really clever. So we're using a particle electron. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow at my AMA session, Ask Me Anything. Node-RED as the applications. So we'll start at the beginning. So we've got a particle with some sensors over the LTE network to the cloud. And then once I've got the sensor readings, temperature and track and trace for accelerometer details, I send that to the cloud, and then I write it to a blockchain, and I can use Node-RED to build dashboards. Where was my device? What journey was it on? Did it exceed the contract? So I built a combination of a physical thing plus the blockchain plus Node-RED. Was very.
That's an interesting case of Node-RED use case where it's being used more for the visualization and the dashboarding, and maybe not for the back-end logic. So that's
right.
That's a good use case.
Yep, perfect. We've got a couple of courses available on Coursera, and so if you're interested in learning more about Node-RED, there's a free course called Developer's Guide to Node-RED, and so I built. This is all actually the lesson key.
I see.
So if you want,
these are the answers.
These are the answers. This is the answer key to the Developer's Guide to Node-RED.
Actually, that's how I learned about it. Is I took that course and it was wonderful.
Good. Yeah. So we teach you about. So I taught about dashboards. That was my chapter. But my colleagues Brian and Nick O'Leary, they built chapters for HTTP request nodes, how to call RESTful APIs.
Yes.
Some tricky ones with JSON-ATA.
I think I remember that one.
So moving down our little journey here, I've got one for a board ESP8266.
Okay.
And so that's a clever one. Another blockchain, my drone challenge.
yes.
We'll do those. Some Intel boards I love to build with. I've got a whole bunch. So NASA Space App Challenge. This was great because they've got a whole set of space. So the satellite tracked the space station. I've got some flows. We can jump there. We'll show you. I just built this morning. I did a 101 lab here at Think around building a universal translator.
Okay.
Which was, you start off with a microphone node, and you record a message. You send that to speech to text. I get back a transcript from the Watson AI service.
Yes.
I take the transcript, I translate from English to Spanish or German, or pick your favorite language, and then I pass the transcript in that foreign language to this text-to-speech node. I get back a WAV file. I get to choose what voice. You've probably heard Michael is our voice for Watson.
I have, yes.
And so you can use Michael's voice to
wow.
say back a message.
So I like that in this use case, you can try out different Watson APIs or other APIs. You don't have to go to the curl command or
Right.
use the terminal. You can try it out in Node.
Build
that's,
really
that's
quick.
awesome.
All right, so lots of them here. Where should we go? Let's go to the Twitter ones because they are.
Let's do that one.
Yeah, let's go do that one. All right, let's jump over to our Twitter nodes. And so, in behind the scene is, since it's running in IBM Cloud, you can control that resource. And I've got one instance. I think it's running in Dallas, but I could spin it up in other geographies if I wanted to. And so let's go launch that app URL.
So like you said, it's just a Node.js app running on IBM Cloud.
And I've given it some memory, and I've got one instance. Now, if I were to build an internet scale app with fault tolerance and failover, I would deploy this not just in Dallas,
Right.
but in a bunch of geos. Okay. All right, so it's running. Let's go log in here. Now, so Node-RED, we haven't seen it yet, but we've got ourselves a palette of nodes that we can select from. Think of this as our paintbrush and our paints. And we've got a blank canvas. And then a set of debug over here. So let's go just build hello world in about 3 seconds here. So I'm going to take a inject node and a debug node. I'm going to wire them together. And instead of injecting a timestamp, I want to inject hello world and say done and deploy. Now let's go take a look to see. So that's hello world.
Oh wow,
Right?
that was really easy.
Really simple. And now it's if you can follow a flow chart, you can really follow a Node-RED flow. These are called flows.
Okay.
And so that one's a pretty simple one. We're just going to delete it. And let's go take a look at some that can manage tweets.
Okay.
So the simplest one, there's a Twitter node that you have to go get a developer key, which I've already done. I'll jump over to Twitter.
So is that Twitter node, does it come as part of Node-RED, or is there a way to get additional nodes other than what's in the palette?
Good question. So there are a couple of dozen of default nodes, logic nodes to build, debug, and inject, and switches, and change nodes, and so forth, delay nodes. But if you want to extend it, there's this huge community of nodes that are available that you can add. Now, they're not installed by default, but if you go to flows.nodered.org, there's this, what are we up to? 3,000 nodes
Oh
now.
wow.
And I can install them by jumping over to Manage Palette. And
Okay.
if I know the name of a node, I can type in, maybe I want to say there's a one for audio, right?
Okay.
And I could, it's already installed
Right.
in my case, but you can, if you know it, instead of doing an npm install at the command line, you can build it right into your editor.
Okay.
It's
I
pretty
like
simple.
how easy they make that.
Yes, to install and manage. You'll notice that some are, like this one maybe is back level now because Dave Conway Jones releases, he's a continuous delivery type of guy. And so every time I turn around, he's bumped the
New
revision
version.
level. And so there's an upgrade
Okay,
button,
perfect.
so you can easily upgrade. But I'm not going to do that now because I want to
Nope.
continue my demo. So Twitter, and I'm just going to take the tweet details, and let's go turn on this particular flow. I've disabled many of them so that I don't overwhelm Twitter and hit my rate limit.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to follow IBM. Or maybe we should follow Think 2019.
So let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so instead of IBM, let's go follow Think 2019. And we're going to say done and deploy. And so now we should, in a couple of seconds, we got to go turn them on. The debug tabs are turned off. We're going to start to get some tweets here. And let's go see what we got here. All right. They're going to start to flow through. And then what I found was that these short URLs were kind of annoying, so I kind of stripped them out. So that was my next little tip here. So the interesting about Node-RED is not only can you follow a flow and build with nodes, but if you want to write JavaScript, it's all here. Grab a function node, and in this case, I just do it. I'm doing a regex on a replace.
Those are fun.
Yeah, I'm just because I wanted to strip out the hashtags and so forth.
Yes.
But you could build pretty long programs inside of a function node if you had to. We encourage you to use low programming techniques instead of deep, functions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you need to fall back, for sure you can. All right, well, it looks like we're getting some data. So let's actually, what can we do with it now? And I've got this big, so let's build a little sentiment. Let's go see, are people happy? You think people happy about Think 2019? The rain, not so much today.
I would hope so, despite the rain.
Despite the rain, Ginny's talk yesterday was quite compelling.
Yes.
And I actually need this. What am I looking for? Think 2019? Let's go see what folks think about. So what we're going to do here, let's follow a little flow chart. We'll hit the deploy button. And so we're going to remove those URLs. We're going to send the tweets to sentiment analysis. And we're
that's
gonna
another Watson service
Right.
running on IBM Cloud. Okay.
And we're going to get a score, one negative to positive. And so here someone was really excited. That was a 6. That was a 0, kind of neutral. And so depending on the tweets, you kind of get a sentiment. What do people think?
Right.
Well, let's go graph that, because what we really want to see is, the trend over time. And so I built myself a little tweet dashboard here. And so similar, we're going to go configure this, and we're going to search for Think 2019, and we're going to get the sentiment, and we're going to put them up on a dashboard. Okay. And I actually was tweeting positive ones to my Twilio account. I've turned that off because it just overwhelms my texting. All right, let's go check it out. And so now there's, not only can you build a flow, but you can build a dashboard. And that's what I did in this one. Let's go check out that dashboard here. Oop, I did not hit deploy yet. It's because I have to enable this tab.
Yes. Good catch.
Yeah, here we go. Now that should work. We have a dashboard.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
So now we're getting sentiment history, and each tweet as they come through, we'll give it a couple of minutes. Someone really excited, right?
That's good.
Great company.
They're obviously
fantastic.
watching this show.
Could be, all right. I'm just now, let's check the stock price too, see how we're doing. And so this, if you're interested in following your social presence, you might use something like this. Couple little, that's not a very big program.
I was
here.
going to ask, like this looks like very professionally done, and
for
how many days did that take you?
Yeah, like 10 minutes. I've got a happy test and a sad test. I always build test harnesses. Even with Node-RED, I encourage developers in general, I unit test everything. So I can unit test within Node-RED as well. So I wanted to make sure that I can do happy tests and sad tests and angry tests. And so we've got some of that.
So I have a question now. Now I built this wonderful looking flow, and I want to share this with my friend.
Okay.
Are there ways to do that?
So hopefully you can see that on the screen. I'm selecting a whole set of nodes, and I'm going to go up to export and export to the clipboard. And now I can, it's just a big JSON file.
Okay.
And I can, I typically grab the whole flow. If you're going to edit it offline, you might do formatted and export to the clipboard. And now I can save it as a file, mail it to you. There's actually the ability to write to GitHub.
Oh, wow.
Commit straight to GitHub with projects.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's a fun little dashboard. How we're doing over here. We're all in the positive. No one's negative yet about Think 2019. So I'm pretty, despite the rain, I think we're going and we're gonna have a great conference.
All right, so give us your one or two where to go next from here for our viewers who want to try it out.
Yeah, so I encourage you to play with Node-RED. Start off, take one of the courses. If there's an API that you want to bring in, I talked about the the airline API, and
The weather API.
the weather APIs. So there's a Quake API. So I built
Okay.
a dashboard, and so it's
We need that one in California.
we do, and I actually have that one running live, and we can tweet you if you want if an earthquake is coming, well, has been detected. Let's go take a look. I'm going to leave you guys with not just a dashboard of sentiment here, but I just enabled another one. It's a map. So where are people tweeting?
Oh, wow.
And so let's oh, I have to turn it on here. Again, think 2019.
It's probably, I would
Sort of I
imagine
added,
majority.
did you notice how I added, previously I was just doing a scoreboard and a historical chart, but now I'm going to bring in a map, and I'm going to drop pins somewhere else. Actually make sure it's running. Do you notice that I hit the
I
rate
see that.
limit?
I see that. The demobots are obviously
demobot.
in the play here.
So because it's a free API,
Yes.
the Twitter does rate limit you to a certain amount. It comes back to life in a couple of minutes.
Oh, is that
though.
right? And we've been
Yeah.
running it for a little bit here, so
I think what I typically will do is I'll try to, not listen to 20 different things all at
Mhm.
the same time.
so you can have multiple flows running at the same
You
time.
can. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Oop,
It's very powerful.
map. I think we're on the map one, right? Let's
Yes.
see. So until the rate limit clears, we're not going to map any.
Yes.
for us.
But we trust it's gonna work.
Yeah.
We trust you.
But so again, another great way to visualize your data.
Yes.
Build a dashboard, drop some pins onto a map, and now this flow is starting to get a little more sophisticated.
I see that.
But if you can follow a flow chart,
Mhm.
you can really follow a program, and you don't have to be a deep programmer to really approach this and say, oh, what is it that I want to do? I want to manipulate. In my case, I care about the tweet, and I'm going to post a tweet on the board, but I really care about the location,
yes.
and I'm going to grab that location. I use an API, the Mapbox. Mapbox is a free API to do reverse geocoding.
Okay.
Oh, actually, in this case, I'm using forward geocoding. It just turned
Everything
on.
came back live.
And so what I do, remember every tweet, this is kind of amazing. So we all think of tweets as like 140 characters. No, there's this big set of metadata about you. It includes like who the person was and whether it's a retweet, and if you've got location services turned on, you're sending that information as part of the tweet. So that's what I'm grabbing, the user location.
Got
I'm
it.
sending that to Mapbox. I'm getting back geocoordinates,
Okay.
latitude, longitude,
That Mapbox
that
gives you
Mapbox.
back. Okay.
And so now I think we're starting to roll some data here.
Oh, there you go. There's
All right.
there's a couple from Europe, and obviously there's a lot from North America since
Yeah,
the event is
that's right.
happening in California.
And you can zoom in now on the map. It's going to be angry because it's going so fast.
Twitter's probably going to block you again pretty soon.
And
Oh wow, it's live. This is
this is-
very cool.
yeah. All right, I just paused it so we can drill down. And so what I'm doing is, let's go pick on a 16 and 10 in London. And so right down, and so someone in London today is tweeting about blockchain
Huh.
and a little picture of blockchain. And I could tell by that whether it's green
wow.
or neutral or red,
Is that the sentiment?
is the sentiment as
Oh,
well.
that- oh,
I'll kind of
wow.
drop that right onto the board. So that was a fun little example of what you could build with Node-RED. And if you can if you have got data to visualize, if you want to, and remember, tweets are sort of event driven. So a perfect scenario for Node-RED. So
Yes.
another event comes through, put it on the graph. An event comes through, put it on the map.
Right. Right.
And those are really great use cases. IoT data,
Yes.
for instance.
Yes, that's very
Yeah.
similar. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I
Sure.
learned a lot, and hopefully viewers also